Alex Howard. I'm here at the rather loud Strata conference floor here, and with me I have Iliinsky, who, with Julie Steele, is the author of Designing Data Visualizations. Now, that would make him an O'Reilly author, so I'm pretty excited to be talking to you right now.
Excellent. Thanks
you
for
were
having
also
me.
an Igniter last night, too, which was great fun.
Yep.
Shockingly, your Ignite talk, for people who are watching, it's a 5-minute rapid-fire talk, 20 slides, was on data visualization, something you have some passion about.
That's something I care deeply about, yes.
So what passion did you channel into this?
This book is the culmination of about the last 7 years of my thinking on the topic. A process that for me started in graduate school, and actually wrote a master's thesis on the process of data visualization. And have been continuing to think about it since then. And of course, had an enormous amount of contribution from Julie, my co-author. And this is not a book about tools. It's not a book specifically about data. It's a book about the process of design and how to think about creating an effective visualization to reveal what is interesting about the data that you have. So that is it's a facet of sort of the ecosystem that we don't talk a lot about. We talk about how to get the data and what to do with it and how to store it and how to munge it. And then there's this sort of little ... and then you have a visualization. And there's some best practices out there, but there's very little that's been published really on the process of doing this effectively. So that's what we aim to do with this book.
So your book is the ...
Our book is the ellipses. It's the missing link.
Wow, our book, I like it, the ellipses. Except it's not about ellipses, it's about designing beautiful ellipses that come together and explain something.
And not just beautiful, but effective, right?
Okay.
Something that's going to convey the information in a way that this particular audience that you're creating it for, crafting it into a format that is most effective for this audience and their goals, because they have a job to do with it. And as Kathy Sierra always says, your success is measured by the success of your audience.
Now, this book wouldn't be needed unless there was a problem.
Yes.
What's the problem?
Well, there's a two-part problem. The good part is there's a lot more data. Oh, and now we have some more. And as that volume of data grows, it gets increasingly difficult to get a handle on it, to see what's in it, to see what's interesting about it. You are looking, as they say, not for the needle in the haystack, but for the hay in the haystack. And finding the hay you want is difficult. So visualization is a great tool. It's an incredible tool for finding those interesting data points. The largest bandwidth into your brain is through the eye. We have incredible software built into our brain around pattern recognition, around visual perception, around change detection. And all these can be leveraged very effectively to get data into the brain and have us notice what is interesting, what is useful about the data. So that's part one. That's the good part of the problem.
Okay.
The bad part of the problem is that there's a very limited set of best practices that have been established for visualizations. There's some standard graph types, and we know how to use them, although not everybody executes them perfectly. But as the volume of data grows, as the variety of data grows, and as people's desire grows to create more and different and more interactive and more dynamic visualizations, we've run out of conventions, we've run out of standards and metaphors. And so that leaves us in a place where people who are really innovating first have to invent a language, and then they have to teach that language, and then they can finally start talking about what's in their data. And that can be done very effectively, and it can be done counterproductively, to the point where people spend all of their intellectual efforts attempting to decode the visualization in front of them, and they literally, you have no brain cycles left over to actually understand the meaning if you make it that far. So again, the book aims to facilitate that process, to make it easier for people to design something that's going to be effective and really crafting an information product, a knowledge product that they can give to an audience, give to a customer, and use to execute appropriate decisions on.
That's one of my favorite transitions right there, in the sense that data is this extraordinary thing. This conference is all about it. But in order to get to the next step, it needs to be made into information, right? So the idea of an infographic focuses right on that. Data visualization, that people can take away knowledge.
Yes.
So when I think of getting knowledge, I often read books, which is why it's exciting to be here talking about books with you.
Yes.
What's that one?
This is the book that came out last year, Beautiful Visualization. Julie Steele was the editor of this book and wrote a chapter. I was the technical editor and wrote a chapter.
Great.
This is, it's 20 case studies. So this is there's 400 pages. It's a phenomenal breadth of projects that are addressed in this book. We have a ton of luminaries in the field. Different chapters, every chapter is by a different team or different group of people, including names that we're all familiar with. Jer Thorpe and Aaron Coblin and Moritz Steffener and just really, really leaders in the field of visualization who are doing interesting work, who are doing useful work, who are doing really creative work. And so each different chapter in this book is a conversation about the data that they had, the visualization challenge that it presented, and how they solved it. Some are more technical, some are less technical, some are almost written as a tutorial, more procedural, some are more conversational. There's a few chapters that are just sort of talking about the notion of visualization. I wrote a chapter about what does it mean for a visualization to be beautiful? What do we strive for? So this is a really nice book to just sort of browse and play with, and see what's available. Get some ideas from other people who've been doing it really effectively.
So author's preference. All of our books are available in digital form. You can go to O'Reilly.com, buy something as an ebook, DRM-free goodness. In this case, you have a print-on-demand version, you have a print version. Sometimes, though, in certain senses, I really like to be holding a book as opposed to reading it on my screen or my iPad.
Yeah.
As an author, would you prefer to read these in the print form or digital? Is there digital versions of the visualizations?
For beautiful visualization, it's full of really rich illustrations.
Yeah.
So that's something I would want to read on a big screen or a full sheet of paper.
Okay.
Not something I'd want to read on a phone. Our book, the newer book, Designing Data Visualizations, I think it's more effective on a phone. You're not going to get the full size of the images necessarily. One thing that we're doing, because that book is print on demand and because it's grayscale, is we're going to have all the images as a downloadable supplement, so that you get it on demand, you get the black and white book, and that's fine, but you're not missing out on the color. You can download that. Personally, I still like paper a lot. I'm happy to read a novel or something on my phone, but for anything that's got images and illustration, I like the big format, and I haven't got an iPad yet.
Okay, well, that's directly from the author's words right there. Rarely you can get an author to talk about the digital versus paper contrast, but here he is. That's the joy of having O'Reilly authors around. So Noah, thanks so much for coming here and
thanks so much
talking.
For having me.
And for people who are watching the stream, books right there, O'Reilly.com to buy them if you like. Please keep watching the streams. There'll be another day of Strata Conference tomorrow. And keep talking to us on the #StrataConf hashtag. We are listening and watching if you have more questions you'd like us to answer. Alex Howard signing off. Please keep watching the stream.